Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Let's go back to the Chibok girls. You know, we're happy about them, but we've also been talking about the sheer volume of work that still needs to be done. Happily, the federal government, speaking through the vice president, has said that no stone will be left unturned. Well, my guest this morning, Hassan Abdulaziz Sani. He's a public opinion molder as well as a public commentator. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Alhaji Hassan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yori.
Well, the girls are here. Just about everybody knows that there still will be trauma, and this has to be sorted out. Now, this cannot be overemphasized, can it? The whole matter about beyond getting them physically back, we also now need a lot of work to do, perhaps on the mental level with these kids who must have been subjected to all sorts of trauma. And perhaps parents might not have the wherewithal, maybe might not be able to afford the specialist care that is necessary for them. Is there a danger, do you think?
Thank you very much. You see, the issue of Chibok girls, I've said it earlier in a forum, that it's a humanitarian crisis that deserves the attention of all well-meaning Nigerians, not only federal government of Nigeria, all the three tiers of government. All our hands should be on deck to make sure we take care of these girls, not only financially, psychologically.
I think that's the real one.
Thank you. You see, the issue is this. We are all jubilating now about the coming back of the 21 Chibok girls. Do we know the motion behind the release of these girls by the militants, by the Boko Haram insurgents? We don't know that. And we need to exploit it. It's something that calls for joy. Parents reunite with their children. And we Nigerians, the well-wishers, we are all happy. Because for you to sympathize, you must assume first to be in their position, the position of the parents of these girls. So we are all on the same shoe with the federal government of Nigeria and other organizations that are in sympathy with the Northeast and people of Nigeria in general.
Mm-hmm. But beyond what you've just said about overall understanding and sympathy, the professional specialist care that is going to, because these are children.
Yeah.
And I imagine this whole matter about the authorities, no doubt, security pros know how to debrief whatever, but making the girls relive some of their trauma, these are the areas where they're probably going to have to be careful, and it might not be as straightforward as if they were adults, for instance. That because really, in a sense, they've been prisoners of war, in a sense.
Yeah.
And now that we've got them back, Lord knows what they are inside.
Yeah.
And this will go beyond local government and all of these things that we're talking about. That's why I was talking about maybe the counseling, the special healing process that is necessary.
Yeah, you know what will always come to the fore about this issue of Chibok girls. We are happy they are all back. That's one thing.
Well, 21 of them are back.
21 of them are back for now, and we're happy about it. But we have a lot to do about them. First of all, there should be a kind of extensive mental health care services for them. And in the process of doing their mental care, the psychotherapy comes in. And you can only have this psychotherapy through, by interviewing them.
Yes.
And by them recounting their experiences.
But there are experts in this technique. It's not just any. We think we know the questions to ask and how to ask it, but I am understanding from the pros that it's a lot more involved.
We should thank God.
Do you think we have the skills necessary?
Yeah, you see, we should thank God for the government in place now.
Okay.
You see, this is a government that is responsible and responsive by nature. And this is our government. A government that listens to us and knows where we are going to and how to solve our problems. Unlike in previous governments, where you see many people parading themselves as experts, while in reality they are 409ers. And the federal government are abusing giving this type of people money. You see, all these things happen because of inability of the government of, with due respect, of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. I look at it from two angles. First of all, President Jonathan lacked the knowledge of the northern Nigeria. That's number one. And people cash in on that to defraud the federal government of Nigeria. And because of his own action or inactions, he fell into their traps.
Well, how do you think this president is different from that?
This president is different from that. This is not a president that you go to him and just say whatsoever you like and you get away with it and get money from him. No. He will look at it holistically because it's a president of the people. It's not a I chop president. And even the vice president of Nigeria.
Well, this is looking like an endorsement of the Buhari regime, which is all well and good in a different context, but I'm more concerned with the children.
The children now.
And whether, for instance, you think that we have that which is necessary to, over time, heal them. Or, as we have heard by some experts, we might need to take them out of this environment altogether. And by the way, what do you think of what I've heard that the parents have, as it were, invited the federal governments to adopt them?
No, you see, the parents for now, they have little to do about these girls. Because when you look at the background of the parents, most of them are not all that financially buoyant. You understand? You see, even the Chibok community itself is an agrarian community. And you can see that people from that particular aspect, when you look at them very well, they are not economically powerful to handle what is on the ground now. The federal government of Nigeria is capable to do all this for them. Federal government have the capacity to attract the sentiment of international communities, to attract the sentiment of civil organizations, to attract the sentiments of well-meaning Nigerians to come to the aid of these girls because they were all traumatized. You know, a lot of things happen with kidnapping.
Yeah, but we're not talking about coming to the aid anymore, are we? Because we have them. It's now a matter about how to treat them.
Yes, you see, it's an aid. You are coming to the aid of them.
Oh, okay.
Because
okay,
it depends on how the usage of English is.
Oh, okay.
The issue is that there are psychologists. They will come in. You understand? They don't come easy. You pay for them to do this job.
So you don't think it's controversial that the parents have, as
no,
they allegedly
you see, for now,
signed over?
For now, they did not give up their children. The real issue is this: the chunk of the jobs, is left with the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay, you know what? Let's look at that video of when they were received by the president and come back to this conversation.
Buhari was on his way out of the country on a state visit to Germany when the 21 Chibok girls were released last Thursday, and the reception of the girls was left to his deputy, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Now it is time for them to meet with the president, and they troop into the presidential villa looking much better than they looked when they were released last Thursday, visibly well cared for and in high spirits. The Vice President, in this short ceremony, formally hands over the girls to the President.
It's a very, very special pleasure, Mr. President, to now again just hand them over to you. They and their parents insisted that they must have an opportunity to meet with you and to thank you. And also, I think that many of the ladies would at least want you to see them and know that they are actually safe and sound.
It also presents an opportunity for the parents of the girls to meet with President Buhari to thank him for the rescue of their daughters and to hand them over to government for future safekeeping. The girls also sing praises and thank the president and indeed the whole country for effecting their release.
Had it been that you didn't come on board, Chibok community would have been wiped out from the land. We are saying on behalf of Chibok people, the parents of the abducted girls, we are saying thank you, may God bless you.
A salvation unto the Lord, we want to say thank you, Lord.
On his part, the president pledges that the girls are now under the care of government and will be given the best treatment the country can offer to make up for their travails at the hands of Boko Haram.
Will be given adequate and comprehensive medical, nutritional, and psychological care and support. The federal government will rehabilitate them and ensure that their reintegration back to the society is done as quickly as possible.
President Buhari also pledges that his government will redouble efforts to ensure that the remaining Chibok girls still in captivity are released. All it seems has ended well for these 21 Chibok girls, who have once again tasted freedom. Now Nigerians wait to see if this government will fulfill its promise of bringing home the other Chibok girls still held by Boko Haram, and by so doing, bring this troubling chapter in the nation's history to a close. Tai Amudu, TVC News.
Okay, that was our time, Amadu's report, when the girls met with the president. And, again, that report sort of underlines it that they're going to be under the care of the federal government. And I suppose what the care is really all about, beyond the protein level being deficient and all of those kind of things, is the invisible aspect, that is the mental trauma. Even if they don't know it, but how wouldn't they know it? What I mean is that the children, the Chibok girls, were put through situations we hear where they've had to witness things that no person, never mind a child, should ever witness. And we hear from psychologists that these kind of things, such traumas, actually, if not appropriately addressed, can have a lasting impact. And that really is probably the concern of people who are looking beyond the joy of getting them back.
Yes, that's true. But going back what Mr. President said, he mentioned that they will take care of them by giving them good proteinous food.
Well, okay.
And
okay.
They will be taken good care of psychologically. Psychologically, we mentioned their psychology because some of them were indoctrinated. You see, when you look at what happened with these child soldiers all over African countries, all these war-ravaged African countries, you will see that in the process of rehabilitating them, it's a responsibility, the first responsibility comes from the government of that particular country. That's number one. Number two, it boils back to the societies, to their various societies or communities. Because we have two faces to it. Mm-hmm. The way the society treats them, you understand? It's like a stigma when somebody is calling you a Boko Haram girl. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. An abused girl. A girl that was vandalized.
Through no fault of her own.
Through no fault of hers. You understand? We need to go back to society and let them know that you see this problem you are seeing is a problem of everybody, and anybody can be a victim of that. It's never a problem of theirs. There's nothing wrong in sending your child to school. There's nothing wrong in making sure your child is up to date. That is modernization.
So you think then that...
but in the process, girls got kidnapped, got abducted, got abused, got indoctrinated. And all these things were not their fault.
Yeah, yeah. So you seem to be agreeing then that maybe that's what you meant when you talked about the way society relates with them, because you seem to be saying that, look, there is a predisposition of society to, you know, sort of shun people who have had traumas like this. For instance, when you look at women that have been sexually abused or raped, for instance, oftentimes we hear that all the incidents don't get reported simply because of the fear of the way society will relate, even when it is no fault of the girl when she was brutalized or the woman. So there's this psychological disposition of society then, even though this is a special case.
No, there's no special case about this. It's about us.
So, sorry, before you continue, Mr. George has called in from Ikeja. Let's take him into this conversation. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
And good morning to Elijah Hassan.
Thank you very much, Mr. George.
Uncle Yori, the Bring Back Our Girls group has been saying this thing for a long time on plans for the girls if they are eventually released. I remember I have seen them on several occasions talking about it, holding seminars about it, but I don't think the government bought the idea then. Perhaps maybe the previous government did not believe the girls were ever going to come back. Be that as it may, I think the first thing that should be done, if all the girls are released, including the ones that we're expecting now, they should be cared for in a different environment from Nigeria. They should be taken abroad. I remember those that escaped, about 57 of them that escaped, are not in the country. They are being taken care of somewhere in the United States. So the ones that are recovered should also be taken care of in the same way. And I think something should be done, Uncle Yori, to the way we stigmatize people that experience things in life. People should be told, or there should be a way to make people realize that when you are in this life, anything can happen to you. And it is not peculiar to anybody. Whatever happens to one person can also happen to the other. So if something happens to Mr. A and Mr. B is mocking him, he's only saying that this thing should also come and happen to me. There is no reason why you should be calling somebody Chibok girl. I understand that even in the IDP camps, Uncle Yori, those that were rescued from Sambisa forest, that the other IDPs call them names. I think it's about time that the traditional rulers or civil society organizations, the orientation agency, should take this matter, bring it to the fore, and the press of the need not to stigmatize people when they experience anything in life. I thank Mr. President for the step he has taken, and I think he should make sure it is implemented. It is one thing to make a promise, it is another to implement it. We know that there are some promises previous governments had made about donations, about awards, and at the end of the day, the people come back to complain years later that they were not given these things or they did not get these benefits. I hope this one doesn't go that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George, for that call, and also for recalling that last bit, that in the past, governments have had the obligation. Sometimes they themselves would have placed it on themselves that this is going to happen. We're going to do this. We're going to have this award. And as Mr. George rightly said, government has defaulted not once or twice. Now, this is a different instance altogether. We're talking about lives here. And we have got these girls back. Thank God for that. But it still now remains to really bring them back, if you get what I mean. It's not going to be easy because these are innocent children. And then they went through this trauma of seeing things. We were told, for instance, well, Lord knows how much of it is true, that part of the radicalization process, when these guys had to do something nasty, like kill people or behead people or do whatever it is, what other nasty, they would actually call those girls to come and witness, thereby desensitizing and that kind of a thing. So these are the issues that experts are going to have to deal with. What do you think of Mr. George's idea that he doesn't even think they can be properly handled in this environment? They need to be taken out of this environment altogether. Seems to make a lot of sense to me, but what do you think?
Let me go back to Mr. George's expressions.
Sure.
He made a last lap point by saying that he hoped the money given will not go the same way of the past, where money was doled out or given out by federal government of Nigeria and money did not get to the victims.
Well, promises were not met.
No. He said
money.
The money we are given, they are met, and nobody, is not getting to the real people concerned. It's something that should give us concern, because even taking care of the IDPs, taking care of the IDPs, a lot of people cashing on it to a kind of enrich themselves.
I hear you, but I think more important is the attitude of the local people, where even in that camp, for instance, he cited the example of some people discriminating against them as you Chibok girls.
That is, you see, let me tell you one thing. I told you before, I said, Mr. Yori, the problem, 70% of the problem lies with the federal government of Nigeria.
Okay.
The 30% lies with us.
Okay.
We stigmatize people.
Our attitude.
It's our attitude. There should be attitudinal change.
But let me not lose Mr. Marvelous. Mr. Marvelous has gone. Now, this very point that you got to and that Mr. George also brought up, yes, everywhere, you said it, it's a concern, it should be a concern of everybody, but in particular, those in the immediate community for now. So, human beings are what they are. They have these ideas, not to be recommended, but I cited the example of the same situation that rape victims, who are not children, rape victims have, and so are not able to come out. It seems deeply ingrained that when an unfortunate situation like that happens, the people can't help themselves, they just do the wrong thing. Now, you are saying there ought to be a campaign. Yes, there ought to be a campaign, but they probably can't be handled here.
There should be an orientation, or the
an
orientation of the people.
That this is bad,
you know what,
and so on.
You know what, Mr. Yori, you see, there are some things that are wonderful about the Western world.
Sorry, sir, I just got Marvelous back. Let me take Mr. Marvelous. Good morning, Mr. Marvelous.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Please, my name is Marvelous, and what I would try to say is that the Shiva girls should be given external care. Like now, they should support them to further their education. So for some have some aim and objective, someone to become some good things in life that can still be of use to the country. Some may be doctors, some may be lawyers, some may be accountants, and so on. So they should not just only take care of them only.
Okay.
To take care of them in all aspects, including in the academical sector. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Marvelous. Yes, as we were saying, the specialist care that's going to be necessary, as he said, these are girls of potential, but that potential, for it to be realized, they have to be well. They have to be healed. They're smiling now, they're dancing now, they're singing now, but people can imagine that there's a lot underneath that veneer.
After singing, after dancing, after clicking glasses, after backslapping, all hands must be on deck. We must go back to basics. We must go back to realities. These guys were battered. They were dehumanized. How do you bring them back to be relevant? How do you, it's like you detoxicating somebody. You understand? And how do we people that are receiving them, how do we assume to be in their position and accommodate them and be like them and render our own support in our own ways? And whatsoever is coming from abroad, we must relate it with what obtains in our environment.
Okay.
These
Okay.
girls are product of our society. Because, you see, I'm not downplaying the essence of taking them abroad. Yes, it's good. But even among the counselors, the people in their society,
Of course.
and let me tell you one thing. I observe one thing in those girls. Majority of them are Christians.
Okay, one moment. Hold it there. I'll come right back to you because I have Mr. Danjuma calling in from Birnin Kebbi. Good morning, Mr. Danjuma.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Please, I want to make my contribution on these Chibok girls that they released.
And how they will be taken care of.
So please, they should be properly having hearing on them because, you know, in this situation that they come from, you understand, is a very critical situation. You understand? And I will pray for the President, our President Muhammadu Buhari, for may God give him more effort on this. Because now in this country now we are seeing it in that thing that you are talking. We are seeing it from now by releasing those people girls. And we pray for him that more things will change again. Because again, and also I have a more contribution on this. Because Nigeria now we are in different critical, we are in critical condition now.
Yeah.
But we pray for him for those people that they don't, you know, in the administration, when something happens, you understand, by then we'll be seeing people, some people will be saying different opinions, you understand, this, that, you understand. The issue is all about patience. Whenever we'll be patient with him, you understand, anything will be all right very soon. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Danjuma. Alhaji Hassan, yeah, you had observed that most of them were Christians. We'll take it from there. But I wonder, is this not a global challenge? What I mean by that is that when violence of a very deeply personal nature like this, like rape, for example, in a different context, when that has been visited on anybody, not everybody, we watch television and we see that there are some Amazons who come out and speak and say, this happened to me and the guy has to go down. And, you know, but we understand that most of those incidents cannot be successfully investigated because the victim is not able to come forward, doesn't want to come forward, doesn't want to relive it. Now, when we come here locally, I want to ask you, Alhaji, in the north, is it any different? In the south, is it any different? The way people regard unfortunate people who are victims of violence, of this kind of a sexual nature?
You see, in the south and the north, the perception of the people are all the same. You will make, we'll begin to kind of confuse ourselves by trying to draw a demarcation that these people are like this, these people are like this. No, this is an African man issue. And the northern Nigeria is populated by Africans. Southern Nigeria is populated by Africans. So the way we look at it,
you know, you were talking about the environment.
we have this thinking.
Even those councillors,
we have this thinking.
they need to be some from
we
there.
we have this thinking of it should not happen to me. So that one is his problem. So we now discriminate against such a person. It's very easy for a rape victim to come forward in the Western world. I was raped. And somebody will come forward and marry her.
Well, yes,
You understand?
Yes.
And he will marry her with alacrity. You understand? And he will now put her on a clean slate. In Africa, we don't do that.
It's more difficult.
All of us are guilty of this.
Let me go on break, and we'll come back and continue with this conversation. And of course, we'll continue taking your calls as well. Welcome back. We're looking at the return of the 21 Chibok girls and some of the attendant problems which for the moment might be below the surface. And just before we went, my guest, Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani, was saying that attitudes are different. In the West, for example, he cited the example of a rape victim courageous enough to tell her story and see prosecution and see punishment, could still go on to, have a normal, a successful life. In fact, get over the trauma. But here, as you said, as Africans, it's different, very, very different, right?
Yeah.
And so we have two levels. On the one hand, the people, and on the other hand, the victims. Well, the people themselves are sort of victims, but the real core victim here is the young girl.
You know what? Let me tell you one thing. You see, if a woman comes out, a lot of people are dying in silence. Are dying in silence. Because when you immediately come out and say it, then people will begin to now quote you from what you said. You understand? They will not be using what you said against you.
That's
one thing. And I'm telling you, whoever.
And so therefore, there's likely to be silence.
The silence
if not
is a complete silence. Silence in the sense that, look, a father who is aware of his daughter was raped, you understand? Mother who is aware that his daughter was raped, you understand? They will be the first people to block her from even going further to say it. Because immediately she say it, it will be very difficult for anybody to marry her.
It has
and it's a dream of every man and woman, every parent, for their daughter to get married. You understand? You see, you block a lot of chances.
Yet these kids must be treated to become well, and that's the paradox right there.
Thank you.
The way we are. Let me bring in somebody who's on the line. Mr. Dede from Surulere. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Good morning to the guests in the house.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dede.
Let me start by congratulating everyone that participated in the process of getting this first batch of Chibok girls out alive. I pray that God will continue to strengthen them. Be that as it may, I also want to appeal to the federal government and all the security agencies not to rest on their words, because it appears to me that the euphoria of having found these few girls might want to douse the enthusiasm and agitation for the release of the others. Let everything be put on deck to ensure that we do not rest until all these other girls have been safely brought back to their parents.
Sure, but Mr. Dede, the trauma, we're looking at the trauma of those that we have received.
We are not utilizing the opportunities and the encouragement and facilities that have been made available to us by foreign countries, the world powers, because they all have shown interest in helping us out of this quagmire. And I wouldn't believe that the United States, the UK, and other Western countries that have offered to help us, they do not have facilities for us to really trace where these girls are and other abducted girls, because those abducted are not only the Chibok girls. By our understanding, over thousands of girls are still in the captivity of these people.
Mr. Dede, we're talking about the mental health of those that have been received. I wonder if you want to comment on that challenge.
We help them so that these girls will be brought back alive into their parents. God bless you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Ode. Well, Mr. Dede, he didn't seem to quite get the drift of the conversation. So he's addressing the larger issue of we still want the others back, which is also very, very important. But the focus, I think, is the mental, psychological, maybe is a better word, health of the children, quite frankly, haven't gone through that and still being called children. One is even a bit apprehensive about that because they've experienced what no adult should experience, and their children still in their formative stage.
They experience what nobody should pray to experience.
Never.
their experience is worth, is much more, is much more like perceived than experienced practically. You see, my sympathy goes to them. One of them made a wonderful account of her experience while with the Boko Harams. She said she was under a tree sitting down. She experienced Nigerian Air Force throwing bombs all over, very close to her. And God saved her, and she thanked God for that. You see, I thank God for one thing about those girls.
So, this is part of the issue. How many 14, 15-year-olds, 16, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, I don't know, how many of them have seen warplanes drop bombs? How many of them have been summoned to come and watch? We need to punish this guy and that kind of a thing. But I have Mazi Okorafor on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guest, Comrade Mazi Okorafor, via Owo Blue Village. Sir, I thank God for our guests that have been returned, part of them. I give God the honor and glory. I'm only calling on Nigerians to assist our people guests with scholarship. Scholarship will those of them that were supposed to write their SSC. At least for we Nigerians, if we need to register one person, at least like this forthcoming exam, that's by next year maybe, at least we arrange for this registration. And our multinational companies in Nigeria, we need them because by the time we register this one will relieve them from that issue of poverty. They should have to do that there is need for them to further their education. Now, our doctors without border, this is where we need them. Because our doctors without border and our nurses without borders, if they can come in here, the issue of therapy is very, very easy to get. Because if we have volunteers, doctors without borders, nurses without borders, it will help our guests and let them move forward. But the target we have here in Nigeria is to make sure that these guys move forward, not to the standard. By the time they move forward, as they do, this issue of poverty will be not just be a past tense. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor. Alhaji, as we were speaking and as I was listening to comments coming all over, I'm sort of reminded of the challenge the world faced when we also had to deal with the issue of child soldiers. Now, they weren't exclusively boys, but child soldiers, and after they had been demobilized, how to get them back into being children, regular children, against the backdrop of the experience they had gone through and the abnormalities that had then become normal for them. So there's this danger here as well. This whole matter about acclimatization of prisoners, of people like this, I think it's called the Stockholm Syndrome, where if you're not careful, prisoners begin to identify with their captives and the ensuing damage that can follow.
No, you see, the issue here, there's a relativity between the child soldiers and Chibok girls. Because all of them were captured. They were forced to be.
Something they weren't originally.
Thank you. And you see, most of these child soldiers came into being as a result of uprooting people from their original environment due to war, due to rebellions and what have you. But what is very clear here, you see, the child soldiers went through the same treatment. Mm-hmm. And some of people accepted them as part of them. Because all these insurgents, call them militant or what have you, they have a way of coercing these people to be with them. It's by force. It's not by their own will. You know, you understand?
Of course.
It's by force.
Of course.
And the best way to do that is to dehumanize them. Kill people before them. Show them that if you don't do this, the same thing will happen to you. You understand? And the same thing happened with this Alice Lakwena's rebel group in Uganda. It happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It happened all these war-ravaged areas.
Thank you very much for recalling all those incidents and talking about the relativity between child soldiers, both boys and girls, and this particular instance. Blessing, good morning from Okbebi. Madam.
Yes, sir. It's concerning the keyboard girls. Me, I was supposed to they come to take them to abroad. And another thing is, in case they take them to abroad, we should learn how to accept them here in Nigeria. That is the problem. We should learn how they should do it genuinely. They should not add any sentiment or anything to it. They should do it as these people. They are psychologically, those girls are not balanced. Emotionally, they are not balanced. Because if you've been a rape victim before, not to talk of somebody that they kidnap and they kill people in their presence, they do a lot of things. You can imagine what has been going on in their head. Another thing again that we should think is that, please, maybe these people now, they just bring them, they program something in their face. Tomorrow to them, because you thought
Blessing, I think the line went bad, but we did get the center of your contribution, and I think she supported taking them out of this immediate environment, the Nigerian environment. That's something interesting, because I'm sure the experts know what to do, because you said, and I think rightly, just not being a professional myself, but guessing that even Chibok people from around them need to be part of the healthcare team. And whatever expertise is coming from Switzerland, Canada, America, Germany, wherever, there still needs to be a contact with their roots.
You know, the problem with us in Nigeria is this. We tend to think global. You understand?
Sorry, let me take Emmanuel from Zaria. Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel. Please go ahead.
Yes, these Chibok girls, understand, they came out from captivity. Yes. Yes, I want them to be, at least, they should take care of them. Yes, these Chibok girls, at least, the federal government should at least take care of them, because they were a kind of
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Manuel. From what we're getting, Alhaji, it seems to me that a lot of people, going by some of the commentary we're getting, they're happy about getting the girls back. But I'm wondering if they are if they really understand the seriousness and complexity of the health issue, the psychological health issue on our hands. People are concentrating on education and all of that. Yeah, that's it. But you have to have a sound mind in a sound body in order to become an engineer, a doctor, and all of that. And I think that's why I'm sort of emphasizing on the psychological profile.
You know, we are in the haste to achieve success. And success don't come easy. And it will never come cheap. It will never come cheap. In the sense that a caller called Comrade Mazi Okoroafo. He said they should get registered for the next examination. And you need to put somebody in his self. You understand? In his proper self. And prepare him very well for him to go and write exams. So all these things are good ideas, but it's not on our own priority. It should not be our own priority for now.
What should be the priority?
What should be our priority now is to make them healthy, you understand? Let them have this kind of medical examination of them. Whoever is having any sexual-related diseases, or either HIV, herbs, and all what have you.
Healthy in both body and mind.
And when you do that, you see it's a stage. It comes in phases. Somebody who is not well is suffering from malaria. Can he take any advice from you? The answer is no. You understand? You must take care of the malaria first. Before now, you now get himself, then you will now communicate with him and try to get something better out of him.
Okay. Thank you for holding on. Eniola from Ojota.
Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Actually, in my area of concern, the issue of
Eniola, are you still with us?
Hello?
Okay, please continue.
Yeah, the area of these Chibok girls, how they be taken care of. I want the federal government to be...
Okay. So you were making the point about body and mind.
Yeah.
Health.
Health.
And
you see, there's one thing for you to take care of the first one before going to mental health. You understand? Somebody came emaciated. Most of them came emaciated. You need to put them on diet.
That's a small problem.
You need to, subject them to, critical medical examination.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
To know what they are suffering from.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Then you do a proper medication for them.
Okay.
And then monitor the improvement.
So we have no problem there.
People can do that. I knew federal government can do that.
The president has spoken.
Thank you very much. Secondly, then you go to the issue of mental health.
The psychological health.
The psychological health. That they should put, you see, a lot of things can be solved through advice.
Okay.
Most of our problems,
and all of that.
Most of our problems can be taken off by advice.
Okay. Maybe that's what shrinks do abroad. What the psychologists. Well,
yeah.
Maybe psychiatrists. Is it psychiatrists, psychologists?
Yeah.
Well, shrinks, yeah. Mr. Yakub, good morning and thank you for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jerry. And then good morning to Mr. Azan.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. You have spoke very well, sir. God bless you.
Thank you.
You see, Shivjori, how to take care of these deaths. There is nothing too much for the federal government to take them out of this country. Why am I saying that? You can imagine the guys that passed through a lot for 2 good years, killing people in front of them, do all sorts of things to these girls. So if federal government can take them out of this country, first and foremost, Mr. Okorokwavo that says earlier that their education, they should register. That one is not coming on now. Because if somebody is not stable with a mentally and other, how can that person read and then get the right mic? So the paramount now is their health, first and foremost. And then how are they going to get their stability? And then after that, we are not talking about their education, how to move forward. And then also, Chivyori, even though they want to take care of these children, they should take care of them together with their mother and their father. Because I don't get are passing through a lot. The father, the mother also pass through a lot. So that's why you cannot imagine what this girl passed through. When you are not talking about people that are sharing the money that made for the weapons in order to secure this girl, you not believing that not to release the person arrowhead of that money. It is very, very important. I totally agree with Mr. President. You cannot just eat the money that made for weapons and then sharing money made for weapons to campaign for political. So Nigerian citizens should support Mr. President, and then they should support all these girls to go to the health clinic, and then the doctor, the people that is going to give them aid, they should voluntarily without not asking for anything. That is what they can give to the country to make sure these girls come back to their senses. Mm-hmm. And then the people that are eating the money, they should be punished for that. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much for calling in. I don't think we have any problem at all. The Vice President spoke first. The President came later and said nothing will be spared. So there's no problem about, treating the girls. But I dare guess that the more difficult treatment is going to be the psychological aspect.
Yes, quite okay.
Yes.
You see, it's so difficult.
You can always treat malnutrition.
It's difficult and it's not difficult. Because it has to do with me and you.
On the one hand.
Thank you. And
then the core victim on the other.
Yes. You see, it takes two to tangle. And without one cannot operate. We have to be very sincere with whoever we are going to say.
Yeah, but our attitude to victims of victims of this kind of instance is not usually supportive.
This is the right time for our religious bodies,
okay,
both Christians and Muslims, you understand, to preach aggressively, you understand, to do a kind of regenerate the mindset of the people. You see, Nigeria is a country that is populated by Muslims and Christians, almost 50-50. You understand? And these religious bodies are having influence on the mindset of the followers. You see, this is the right time for them to do it. This is not just a job for National Orientation Agency to do. No, it should go beyond that. The religious organization should preach it.
Okay.
You understand?
The wider society.
Wider society.
Okay.
The community leaders should get involved. Everybody should get involved.
Let me see if I can squeeze in this our last caller, of Mr. Osazua, calling in from Ikorodu. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
And your presenter over there.
Good morning, sir.
I want to thank God for our President Muhammadu Buhari, for these steps he has taken so far. And I want to quickly say that I buy what the last caller, Yakub, just said, by taking care of the girls as fast as they can, and probably take care of their family also, who share the most part of the pains also, which is their parents, precisely. And if it takes the federal government to take them abroad, to give them standard treatment, let them do, because for as much as these girls pass through such a pain, tremendous pain, I think they should also enjoy the right sense of the level of which they have passed through. They should also enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sazwa. Really appreciate your call. And quite frankly, Alaji, that's about all we can take. But thank you very much for your insights. And one just hopes that by this conversation, perhaps a lot more of us will be aware of the perhaps arguably much more difficult healing effort that is going to be the psychological aspect. We can always take care of malaria. We can always take care of malnutrition. We can take care of sores. But the psychological trauma, that's in the mind, and it requires specialists. And they said all hands are going to be on deck, most especially highly skilled professional help. And wherever that takes us to, we shouldn't be shy to go there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you see, we have this kind of it's a very good start, and we hope to get where we are going to, and we're in the right hands.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Alhaji Hassan Abdul Aziz Sani. And that's our program. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing, with a fresh edition of the program. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.